Good morning, I'm Bree Driscoll, and here's your Spectrum News in 90. Severe weather striking several states across the country. In Oklahoma, a powerful tornado touched down last night about 40 miles outside of Tulsa. Emergency crews say the twister damaged dozens of homes as well as a nursing home, and parts of Texas are dealing with the aftermath of severe flooding that claimed 3 lives. An Israeli military official says Israel has captured the Gazan side of the Rafah crossing. It's a vital entry point for much needed aid. The White House says the move is not necessarily the start of a major offensive. This after Hamas accepted a ceasefire proposal by Egypt and Qatar. Negotiations are continuing today.
What's happening here is a disgrace.
The Trump trial continues today after witness testimony wrapped on Monday. Prosecutors say Trump was part of an illegal conspiracy to undermine the integrity of the 2016 election. Trump denies the allegations and the year's theme, the Garden of Time. The theme is tied to the museum's spring exhibition opening on Friday. Many celebrities don dresses and suits studded with florals and unique fabrics. The gala raises money for the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute. Those are headlines. Now here's a look at your weather on the ones.
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez, and today we continue with a risk of severe storms. These are going to be in parts of the Midwest, moving eastward with a threat of tornadoes today. Meanwhile, we also still have not only windy weather in the Rockies, but snow. Now, these areas of rain, the thunderstorms are going to be moving eastward tonight across Ohio toward West Virginia and Pennsylvania. Rain is expected in New York City. Meanwhile, very hot in Florida.
Thanks so much for joining us here on Spectrum News. I'm Bree Driscoll. Today is Tuesday, May 7th. Our top story, powerful storms tearing across the country, bringing with them tornadoes, heavy rain, and large hail. In Oklahoma, a powerful tornado striking about 40 miles outside of Tulsa. Emergency management says the twister downed trees and power lines and damaged dozens of homes and buildings, including a nursing home. Emergency crews say no one was seriously hurt. Spectrum News anchor Jenna Enoch joins me now with more. Jenna, where are we seeing the most damage?
Oh, Bree, the biggest threat we're seeing in Oklahoma is tornadoes. And I want you to take a look at this video. A powerful tornado touched down late Monday night in a city about 40 miles outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it was all caught on video. The sheriff's office in Osage County says one person is dead after the tornado touched down. Now officials are conducting search and rescue in that area while navigating some dangerous conditions like downed power lines, gas leaks, and debris, which are making roadways dangerous. According to Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management, the twister damaged dozens of homes and a nursing home. Residents were evacuated from that damaged nursing home and no injuries that required hospital care were reported. The National Weather Service will likely be there today to survey the damage and determine wind speeds from that tornado. About 58,000 people have lost power so far across parts of Oklahoma and Missouri as these severe storms sweep through the states. The risk continues for severe thunderstorms in Oklahoma and Kansas, producing some heavy rain and hail. Bree, back to you.
Jenna, thank you very much. Israel's military says it has taken over the Palestinian side of the Rafah border crossing. The facility is the sole crossing between Gaza and Egypt and a crucial entry point for humanitarian aid to the besieged Palestinian enclave. Overnight, Israeli airstrikes bombarding the city. Now, the White House says the movement in airstrikes aren't necessarily the start of a major offensive. This despite the surprise announcement on Monday that Hamas accepted a ceasefire proposal mediated by Egyptian and Qatari officials. The Israeli government responding, saying the deal did not meet its core demands, but that they would send a delegation for further talks. Spectrum's national reporter Angie Gonzalez joins us now with the latest. Angie, let's start with the Israeli attacks. How do they play into the ongoing ceasefire talks?
Yeah, so these attacks have confused many of those sheltering in Rafah, more than 1 million people, in fact, as some of them initially celebrated news that Hamas had accepted the terms of a ceasefire on Monday, but it still is not a done deal. Now, the White House says that the airstrikes, which are said to have killed more than a dozen people, aren't necessarily the start of a major Israeli ground offensive in Rafah. Instead, Israeli officials contend those actions and the fact that their military has moved to capture the Palestinian side of the Rafah crossing into Egypt are part of their negotiating tactics to secure a ceasefire deal on their terms. Now, the negotiations between Israel and Hamas in getting a ceasefire deal continue today in Qatar. Back to you.
So, Angie, what still needs to be worked out?
Well, there seems to be one main sticking point, Bree, but there are many more concerns, primarily from the Biden administration, who don't want to see a ground invasion into Rafah, and from aid organizations who are worried about the Israeli military choking off aid going into Gaza at the Rafah crossing. Now, there are also protesters in Israel that are urging Israel's leadership to accept the offer that Hamas has accepted and get the remaining hostages back. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his war cabinet apparently aren't on board with that. The main reason being that they don't want to agree to a long-term ceasefire, which Hamas says that it does want. Now, in the meantime, thousands of those living in parts of Rafah under evacuation orders from the Israeli military have been trying to leave the area, but with new bombing overnight, some question whether or not doing so is actually safe for them to do. Bree?
All right, Angie Gonzalez, thank you very much. Former President Donald Trump back in court today. The judge in his hush money trial threatening jail time after another gag order violation. This as the former president's lawyers consider asking to delay his classified documents case. Our Ayanna Harry has the latest.
This judge has given me a gag order and said you'll go to jail if you violate it. And frankly, you know what? Our Constitution is much more important than jail. It's not even close. I'll do that sacrifice any day.
Former President Donald Trump standing defiant. For the 10th time, Trump was found to be in contempt Monday of the gag order in his Manhattan criminal case. After a recent comment about the jury, Trump was ordered to pay another $1,000 fine.
But what's happening here is a disgrace.
In the courtroom, Judge Juan Merchan looked down from the bench directly at Trump, warning future gag order violations could land him in jail.
Judge Merchan is definitely being meticulous about what he says and how he says it, and also making sure that Donald Trump is on notice.
After the former president was admonished, the prosecution called in their next witness. Jeff McConney gave the jury a rare glimpse into the inner workings of the Trump organization.
Jeff McConney is serving the purpose of actually getting the records into evidence, getting the business records into evidence.
Prosecutors showed the jury records from inside the Trump organization. As the longtime controller, Jeff McConney testified. McConney described how the company reimbursed Michael Cohen the $130,000 payment he sent to Stormy Daniels. McConney said some of the reimbursement money came from Trump's personal account. And in Trump organization records, the repayments to Cohen were classified as legal services. New York trial attorney Bernarda Villalona.
What the prosecution is arguing to this jury, and will be arguing at closing arguments, that the legal services, it wasn't for legal services.
An accounts payable employee at the Trump organization recalled sending Michael Cohen reimbursement checks to the White House for Trump's signature. Prosecutors claim that $130,000 was a hush money payment to avoid a sex scandal during the 2016 presidential race. Also Monday, prosecutors revealed they expect to take 2 more weeks to present their case.
I thought they were going to be finished today, and they want 2 to 3 more weeks. The judge asked them, and playing right into the judge's hands. The judge is so happy about 2 to 3 more weeks because they all want to keep me off the campaign trail.
And back to the gag order, the judge gave Donald Trump until Friday to pay this latest fine. In Manhattan, Ayanna Harry, Spectrum News.
Coming up on Spectrum News, 1 year after the Allen, Texas mall shooting, we'll hear one survivor's harrowing account.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 East, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. Gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez with an update on what we're talking about today. We are watching the Midwest for thunderstorms, some severe as they move eastward this afternoon through tonight. In the Rockies, it's windy. There is more snow, and the rain is moving eastward. Parts of the Northeast will have areas of rain tonight and tomorrow. Let's take a look at all of the storm reports over the last 24 hours. A lot of that was wind and also snow for parts of the Rockies and parts of the West. But right here in the central part of the country is where we had severe storms yesterday and overnight. And some of those were tornadoes. So they'll be cleaning up in parts of Oklahoma, certainly Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri. That rough weather's been moving eastward, and our risk of severe storms during the afternoon and tonight will be centered in the Midwest. So there could be some flight delays, Chicago, Detroit, Indianapolis, down to about Memphis. And the risk of severe storms is a level 3 out of 5. And this covers a lot of Ohio, including around Columbus, areas near Dayton too, Louisville up to Indianapolis. Watch out for the threat of tornadoes. Large hail, damaging wind also possible here, and this will ramp up during the afternoon and into the evening hours. So you can certainly see the storm system here. Look at all that rain, Minneapolis into Milwaukee and Chicago, St. Louis too. Areas of rain will be covering parts of Kentucky into West Virginia. This is a look at tonight and into tomorrow. Still more thunderstorms around Columbus. Rain is moving into Pittsburgh, then eventually into Philadelphia and into New York City tonight and Wednesday. Today in Milwaukee, 66 degrees with showers and storms. Chicago, stormy weather and a high of 75. Des Moines is drying out. 75 degrees today, but Indianapolis will have to watch for some severe storms possible. Kansas City, after a rough night, will be getting drier. Some sunshine returns with high of 77 and a low of 57 degrees tonight.
If you're just joining us or heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. An Israeli military official says Israel has captured the Gazan side of the Rafah crossing. It's a vital entry point for much needed aid. The White House says the move is not necessarily the start of a major offensive. Severe weather striking several states. Emergency crews in Oklahoma say a massive twister damaged dozens of homes. Parts of Texas are dealing with the aftermath of severe flooding. And officials delaying Boeing's Starliner launch nearly 2 hours before a historic liftoff. They say an oxygen valve needs to be fixed before the astronauts can take off. And that's a look at what you need to know this morning. Pro-Palestinian protesters rushed and upended a police barrier at MIT yesterday. The university had ordered protesters to clear the encampment by early afternoon. Police then fenced off the area with about a dozen tents remaining inside until additional protesters arrived and broke past the barricades. Last night, dozens of protesters remaining at the encampment in a calmer atmosphere, listening to speakers and chanting before taking a pizza dinner break. Russian President Vladimir Putin sworn in again today for his 5th term as the country's president. The U.S. and most European nations boycotted the ceremony, with many Western governments condemning his re-election as both unfair and undemocratic. Putin won in a landslide victory in March, only weeks after his most prominent political opponent, Alexei Navalny, died in prison. An American soldier has been arrested in Russia, accused of stealing from a longtime girlfriend. U.S. authorities say Staff Sergeant Gordon Black was stationed in South Korea. Black, who's married, was in the process of going back home to the U.S., but instead traveled to Russia to visit a longtime girlfriend. Officials say the soldier was arrested in Russia last week on charges of criminal misconduct. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders announcing he will run for re-election. The 82-year-old highlighting in a video Monday the many issues he would address if re-elected. Sanders saying that in many ways, this 2024 election is the most consequential election in our lifetimes. The Vermont Independent is the current chairman of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. If re-elected, this would be his 4th term in the Senate. 1 year ago, a gunman opened fire at an outlet mall in Allen, Texas, killing 8 people and injuring 7 others. Spectrum's Michael Lozano spoke with one survivor who is still coping with the shooting 1 year later.
Mike, I would have to say I'm surviving.
Irvin Walker is still trying to piece his life together.
Fighting through some things.
Just a year ago, Irvin was at the Allen Premium Outlets with his girlfriend. After dropping her off, he went searching for a parking spot, and that's when he felt an impact to his chest.
I felt it. And then I was able to identify the shooter as I was trying to get away.
Irvin says the gunmen kept firing at him. He tried taking cover as he worked to get his car out of neutral and speed off.
So I got out and ran, holding my wounds. I knew that I could see the blood and the pain coming from my chest gusting out.
That's when Irvin ran into security guard Christian LaCour, who tried rendering aid before going in the direction of the shooter.
Once I leave sight of him and walk ahead, and when I sit, I turn back, he shot.
Christian was shot and killed. Irvin was still bleeding from his gunshot wounds, but was able to hide in a department store before getting the attention of police officers.
So I was just screaming. I said, the last thing I said that got their attention, I said, I'm gonna die if you don't help me.
Irvin was transported to the hospital where he underwent 2 surgeries for gunshots to his arm, chest, and face.
12 months to reflect on possibly losing my life.
Since May 6, 2023, Irvin hasn't been the same. It's impacted his relationships, friendships, and has left him jobless for nearly a year.
Where do I go from here? How do I fulfill my purpose?
Countless bouts of therapy have been a piece of that puzzle. He even returned to the mall to try to find some healing.
And my life is impacted, but people are continuing on with their life like nothing happened. You know, it took me a while to really grasp that.
His attorney, Daryl Washington, says they're looking into taking legal action against the mall.
Why aren't facilities that are inviting thousands of people out there on a daily basis, why are they not having adequate security?
While Irvin knows he'll never be the same, he's relying on his faith and people like his daughter to help carry him forward.
In the end, evil will not win. That's my thought, right? Love conquers all, and I believe that love is much stronger than hate.
In Allen, Michael Lozano, Spectrum News.
Coming up on Spectrum News, the hottest night in fashion. We'll look back at all the best fits from the annual Met Gala.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus, streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez with an update on Hurricane Preparedness Week. A reminder that here at Spectrum News, we will be giving you updates throughout hurricane season, which begins on June 1st. You can watch us here on TV. You can watch us on the app. You can read more stories on our local websites. So we'll have a lot to talk about, of course, during hurricane season. We want to focus on the potential impacts. So regardless of the storm size or the category of a hurricane, we want to focus on impacts to regions and cities, what you are going to prepare for if there is a threat in your area. Remember, deadly hazards can occur outside of the forecast cone, so don't just concentrate on the cone, but we want to focus on the potential impacts when we get into hurricane season. Thankfully, it's quiet now, but now is certainly a good time to prepare. Even though the tropics are quiet, we have thunderstorms, some severe, racing across Illinois, Wisconsin, through Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio for today. So you certainly need to be aware that thunderstorms, some severe, including tornadoes, are possible this afternoon and tonight. This is 11 o'clock tonight. Looks pretty rough for southern Ohio, for parts of western Pennsylvania. The rain will be moving across New Jersey, New York, and then up into Maine tonight and into Wednesday. And there will be a period of time where there's going to be some showers, so we'll call it unsettled. It certainly won't be a washout, but you'll get a break and then another chance of some rain for Thursday. Meanwhile, out west, it is the snow that is a problem. Not only heavy snow, but very strong wind gusts. That's why there are high wind warnings in parts of Montana for today. Yesterday, Denver was certainly dealing with all of those strong winds too. And you can see how that snow is piling up, leading to some slick travel for the Rockies. In Seattle today, 57 degrees with partly sunny skies. San Francisco, a high of 68 with a low of 53. Denver is windy again, but look at tonight. There's a freeze watch. We're going to get down to low to mid 30s. Las Vegas will be warm and sunny, and LA enjoy the sunshine at 73 degrees. So the cooler air is in the northwest, very warm to hot. Parts of Florida will be in the 90s the next several days. Air conditioning certainly going on here. And in Atlanta, Raleigh with a low of 71. Lows tonight will dip down to the 30s in Portland, Great Falls, and Rapid City. Now we look at our temperature trend, and there will be some cooler air making a move toward the southeast at the end of the week and the weekend as a cold front moves in.
Boeing's Starliner launch set for last night has been postponed nearly 2 hours before a historic liftoff. Officials delayed the launch following an issue with an oxygen valve. The mission aims to send NASA astronauts to the International Space Station. Liftoff could happen as soon as today. New York police arrested 27 pro-Palestinian protesters yesterday ahead of the hottest night in fashion. Hundreds of demonstrators marched across New York City earlier in the day as police put up barricades near the Met Gala, with some protesters seen attempting to break through. The latest demonstrations coming a week after hundreds of students at several New York City universities ramped up pressure for those institutions to cut financial ties with Israel. New York's annual Met Gala brought out the stars in their finest outfits, playing into this year's theme, the Garden of Time. Many picked dresses and suits with unique florals and fabrics. Spectrum's George Whipple has a recap of fashion's biggest night.
That's a wrap on the 2024 Met Ball with the theme, the Garden of Time. We saw many floral-inspired garments on the red carpet, and we see more stars at this party than any other party in New York, and perhaps even the world. We got the chance to speak to Penelope Cruz about what fashion means to her and whether or not it's art. Do you consider fashion art?
I do because I consider it art, and I know it's very hard work. And for example, in my Chanel family, because it's really a family, I know the people for 20, 30 years. Once they arrive, they never want to leave because they are really a part of a team, the value of the teamwork.
You're in a museum, you were the great designer. Do you think fashion is art?
Absolutely.
Why?
Do you see this? This is art.
It's the Costume Institute's yearly fundraiser, chaired by Vogue editor Anna Wintour, along with her star-studded co-chairs, Zendaya, Jennifer Lopez, Bad Bunny, and Chris Hemsworth. How have you created this phenomena that has turned into such a huge funny fundraiser?
My 27th Met, so it didn't happen overnight, but we're so grateful for everybody's support.
There are always unexpected guests on the red carpet. Is this your first Met Ball?
Yes, it is, and Aisha McShow, who's my girlfriend, is a designer. She designed this, and Andre Leon Talley always told us, you've got to keep fighting for diversity, and you got to come to a Met Gala. And so I'm her escort tonight because she was following his instructions.
The gala's theme was Sleeping Beauties, Reawakening Fashion, with the dress code, the Garden of Time. On the red carpet, Matt Damon, Adrian Brody, Jeff Goldblum, Kris Jenner, Sofia Coppola, Hugh Jackman, and Ariana Grande. Reporting from the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Met Ball, George Whipple.
Some truly innovative looks there. What a great night for fashion. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you, and we'll figure it out.